All right, let's talk about splitting firewood. This is a very easy thing to do. Not a lot of people know how to do it anymore. For good reason. Most people have natural gas heat or electric heat. They don't generally have to split firewood. Now, I split firewood for two purposes. One, being bonfires in the summer. Two, actually, you know what? Three purposes. Number two, for heat at our hunting cabin up in northern Minnesota. Third reason, boiling maple syrup. So I got a nice little stockpile here. Let me flip around and show you. This is what I've got so far this year. Not a ton. You see I got my rhubarb. I'm trying to protect back there. Not the best spot to plant it, but whatever. Now, things you need to split firewood. First, you need a splitting stump. Find you something that isn't going to split very easy. I found this spruce. I don't know exactly what kind. I want to say it's like a Norway spruce. This is really good for not splitting. You see all the knots in it. This is a really soft wood. It just doesn't split very well. I've split all this wood here on that so far, and there's no axe marks. It's great. It just, yeah, I don't know. Something about it just works really well. And I've got a couple stumps like that as backup. What else do you need for splitting firewood? Well, splitting axe of some kind. I use a Fiskars, I don't know, I think it's an 8-pound splitting maul. You can use whatever kind of splitting axe you want. I prefer a maul because it's got a lot of weight. It also has this hammerhead at the top, so if I get stuck in a big chunk like this, I can hit it with my 2-pound hammer and split it the rest of the way. So, last thing you'll need, firewood. Find yourself some firewood. Seems pretty obvious, but if you don't have firewood, you can't split firewood. So, step number one on splitting firewood. Take your firewood, set it there on the stump. Make sure your stump is fairly level and fairly stable. It doesn't have to be perfect, but fairly stable. All right, now I'm gonna set my camera down and wind up so you can kind of see exactly what happens next. All right, next step. Make sure you got clear footing. I take off my sweater so you can see just generally how my body's framed when I swing. Take your axe, 2 hands, like you're swinging a baseball. Pretty simple so far, right? Now, place your head of the axe on the center of that piece of wood. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna wind up and we're gonna swing down and hit the middle of that log, okay? Now you can see I flipped it to use this hammerhead so you can see what I'm doing here. Practice that a few times. Use just a sledgehammer or something. You want to use your whole body so when you swing around, you're hitting that thing right in the center. It takes a lot of practice to get good at this, but just try it a handful of times. Hitting it right in the center there. Use that flat piece. You want to build up that accuracy. When you're ready to try it, go ahead and make sure you got that sharp end facing down. 2 hands firmly on that axe head, and we're gonna flip it around again just like we did, right in the middle. Okay? If you did it right, you'll go all clean through. I was expecting to mess up because that's usually how this goes. So this sunk straight into my stump. I'm just gonna leave it for now. Show you the result. Nice split piece of wood. Secondary split piece of wood. You can tell this didn't hit perfect center. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shelf this because that one in my mind is good enough for a fire. Pull my axe out. Now on these smaller pieces you don't have to do the full wind up. You can just do a simple drop of the axe like that. Grab your pieces, you're good to go. Splitting firewood takes practice, and that's pretty much all there is to it. You know, so try hitting that center over and over again, and eventually you'll start hitting that spear end, the sharp end, and you'll start splitting wood. Now I'm using oak. This is some old red oak that came from our hunting cabin. Very easy to split. For practice wood, I would use red oak or some kind of oak. You start going into birch. Birch is not easy to split. You would think it would be, but it's, the grains are all weird. It catches, the axle head will catch the grain and shoot off to the side. You get weird stuff. Black ash, really hard to split. I'm not sure about pine and stuff like that, but from my experience, oak is the easiest to split, along with ironwood or hop hornbeam, very easy to split. So hope you found this educational. Yeah, that's how you split firewood. Have a great day. Bye.